in London.
Although District 1 is completely safe. How old are you, Andy?
12. I think that makes you the youngest person in the entire country.
This is what it's all about, gentlemen. Families starting again.
When 28 Weeks Later hit theaters in 2007, it carried the heavy task of following one of the most influential horror films of the 2000s. As a sequel to 28 Days Later, it returned audiences to a world torn apart by the rage virus, a fast-spreading infection that transformed its victims into violent, uncontrollable killers. But this time, the story expanded beyond the initial outbreak to explore what happens after the rage seemingly burns out and the world tries to rebuild from the ashes. Directed by Juan Carlos Fresnadillo, the film captured both the horror and tragedy of survival, mixing emotional depth with relentless intensity. The story begins with haunting quiet. 6 months have passed since the initial infection devastated Britain. The U.S. military has stepped in to restore order, establishing a safe zone in the heart of London known as District 1. The promise of safety, however, is fragile. Families begin to return, trying to rebuild lives shattered by chaos, but beneath the surface, the trauma of what happened lingers. The film opens with one of the most gripping and emotional prologues in modern horror, a desperate scene of survival that sets the tone for everything that follows. A husband and wife hide in a remote cottage, surviving off the grid until the infected burst in with terrifying speed. The husband, Don, makes a heartbreaking choice that will define the entire story. He abandons his wife, Alice, to save himself. The moment is horrifying, not because of the violence, but because of the raw, human selfishness at its core. When the narrative shifts to the rebuilt London, the tone becomes eerily calm. Don, now working within the safe zone, is reunited with his children, Tammy and Andy, who were evacuated during the outbreak. He tells them their mother is dead, consumed by the infection, but fate has other plans. Against all odds, Alice is found alive, immune, but carrying the virus within her. Her survival is a miracle, but also a curse. The moment she's brought back into the secure zone, the seeds of catastrophe are sown. Don visits her in secret, consumed by guilt over leaving her behind. What follows is one of the film's most shocking and unforgettable moments. A kiss, filled with remorse, reignites the rage virus. Within minutes, Don transforms into an infected monster, spreading chaos through what was supposed to be humanity's second chance. From that moment, the film explodes into pure chaos. The infection spreads like wildfire through the safe zone, and the illusion of control collapses instantly. The military's containment protocols turn the city into a killing field. Both infected and civilians fall under the same merciless gunfire. The film's cinematography and editing mirror the panic, using frantic handheld shots, rapid cuts, and a bleak color palette to immerse the audience in the terror. The score, especially the haunting in the house in a heartbeat theme from the first film, returns with even greater emotional force, underscoring the horror with tragic beauty. Amid the destruction, Tammy and Andy become the emotional anchors of the story. Their desperate escape through a city turning into hell reflects the loss of innocence in a world without mercy. They're aided by Sergeant Doyle, a soldier torn between his orders and his conscience, and Scarlett, a military doctor who understands the importance of the children's genetic immunity. Their journey through the ruins of London, from subway tunnels filled with darkness to burning streets lit by helicopter gunfire, captures the collapse of hope itself. One of the film's most haunting sequences features a helicopter slicing through a swarm of infected, a brutal image that combines horror with surreal, apocalyptic beauty. As the group fights to survive, the movie deepens its emotional core. Tammy and Andy's relationship becomes a symbol of hope and humanity in a world overrun by fear. Andy, who carries his mother's genetic traits, becomes the key to a possible cure, but also a danger. The infected Don stalks them through the city, driven by a monstrous instinct to reunite with his children, turning the father figure into a relentless, tragic embodiment of the virus itself. The tension between family love and monstrous transformation gives the film its emotional weight, elevating it beyond a standard horror sequel. The performances throughout the film are powerful and grounded. Robert Carlyle as Don delivers a layered portrayal from guilt-ridden survivor to infected terror. Imogen Poots and Macintosh Muggleton as Tammy and Andy bring raw emotion and realism to their roles, representing the fragile humanity at the heart of the chaos. Rose Byrne as Scarlet adds compassion and intellect to the story, while Jeremy Renner as Doyle delivers quiet heroism in one of his early standout performances. Together, they create a balance between emotional storytelling and intense horror. The atmosphere of 28 Weeks Later is unrelenting. Every frame feels soaked in dread, with abandoned streets, burning buildings, and the ever-present sound of distant screams creating a sense of hopelessness. The film explores not only the terror of infection, but the moral decay of society under pressure. The military's desperate measures, including a devastating firebombing of the city, expose how thin the line is between order and annihilation. Even the safest places become death traps, reminding viewers that the real horror often comes from human decisions, not just the monsters outside. As the story races toward its climax, the survivors make their way through the destroyed city, facing not only the infected, but also their own fears. The use of minimal dialogue and intense visuals amplifies the emotional stakes. The finale is both thrilling and heartbreaking, leaving the audience with a haunting reminder that survival often comes with unbearable loss. When Tammy and Andy finally reach a helicopter escape, the moment feels like a fragile victory, but the final twist crushes any sense of closure. The virus has found a way out. The final scene, set in the heart of Paris, shows the infected sprinting through the city's landmarks, signaling that the nightmare is far from over. What made 28 Weeks Later so effective was its ability to expand the world of the first film while maintaining its emotional and thematic core. It explored guilt, survival, and the cost of rebuilding trust after catastrophe. It also presented a chilling reflection on modern interventionism and the illusion of control in times of crisis. The film's raw energy, intense realism, and moral ambiguity made it stand apart from typical zombie or infection films. It wasn't just about monsters. It was about human nature, choices, and the terrifying consequences of compassion and failure. Visually, the film embraced a gritty realism that felt documentary-like at times. The use of natural light, real locations, and handheld camera work brought authenticity to the horror. The action scenes, though chaotic, never lost emotional grounding. Every explosion, chase, or death served a purpose in showing the fragility of civilization. The editing style, often fragmented and urgent, put the audience directly in the character's shoes, making every moment of fear and confusion feel real. Thematically, 28 Weeks Later carried deep layers beneath its horror surface. It dealt with the lingering scars of trauma, the guilt of survival, and the dangers of trying to restore normalcy too soon after devastation. Don's decision to abandon Alice, and later his tragic reunion with her, encapsulates the central moral dilemma in a world destroyed by fear. Can love survive, or does it become another casualty? The film suggests that even in the face of rebuilding, humanity remains haunted by its own actions. The movie's pacing balances moments of quiet despair with sudden bursts of violence, creating an unpredictable rhythm that keeps the tension alive. The scenes of calm children playing, families returning home, soldiers patrolling empty streets are quickly shattered by chaos, reminding viewers that peace in this world is always temporary. This constant shift between calm and terror mirrors the nature of the virus itself, dormant, waiting, then suddenly explosive. By the end, 28 weeks later, leaves its audience with more questions than answers. Can the world ever truly recover from such destruction? Is the rage virus a metaphor for human anger, grief, or the cycles of violence that define history? The film doesn't offer easy resolutions. Instead, it closes on an image of spreading infection, a grim reminder that no matter how hard humanity tries to contain its darkest impulses, they always find a way to return. In the years since its release, 28 Weeks Later has remained a landmark of modern horror, a sequel that not only lives up to its predecessor, but also carves out its own legacy. It combines horror, tragedy, and human drama in a way few films manage. Its raw emotion, brutal honesty, and haunting visuals continue to resonate, proving that even in a world consumed by rage, the most terrifying thing is still the human heart.